Welcome back, everybody. Part two. Andy, after many misadventures with 2 rand tequilas.
Yes.
Well, just one actually. That was quite
Just the
funny.
one.
Yeah.
Scarred for life.
For some, yeah. You go to England next.
Yeah. So left school, stayed in the roading kind of crewing business for a little while, and then saved up money, and I did the traveling thing. Moved over to London. Andy Green again, he was staying in a house in London, and said that if I wanted to come over, and there was a space for me to stay. So went over to London, and I moved into that house. It was a big digs kind of place, as everyone does. And Andy had a crewing business where he would supply people to crew for kind of events and things. And
What's the thing with people named Andy who get into that kind of work? I mean, Andy Jamison also has that kind
Andy
of
Mack.
Andy Mack, sorry. Andy
Yes.
Mack is that kind of business as well?
Exactly.
Well, anyway. That's all.
So we went over, and he gave me work, and started out like that, and ended up.
That led to something quite interesting for you, I believe.
Yeah. Well, what happened was the first gig that I did for Andy Green was the loadout of a big party which had been at some fancy hotel, and we had to load out at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and so we arrived at about 2 o'clock, and everyone left, and we went into this huge ballroom. We had to strip everything down. There were loads of curtains and everything. We had to strip it all out, and I didn't really know what I was doing, so I said to Andy, like, what should I do? He said, well, why don't you just go help that guy up the ladder up there? So I went up to the guy on the ladder, and I said, hey, excuse me, do you need a hand? And the guy looked down, and it was Robin Auld. And that's how I met Robin. And Robin and I became very, very, very close friends. And yeah, Robin ended up...
How would you quantify Robin Auld's influence on your life? Musical life, at least.
Yeah, quite huge, I'd say. I'd been writing songs, and I remember my dad actually took me to see Robin play at the Brass Bell in the 80s, you know. So I'd always heard his name, you know. People had always spoken about Robin. He'd already moved over to the UK, and he was doing the thing, and he'd released, you know, Zen Surfing in the Third World and all of those big hits that he had. So meeting him there was quite like, oh, wow, okay. Wow, this is someone who's kind of left our shores, and that was a huge thing back then. It was like, wow, someone actually broke out and went overseas to play shows and was kind of doing the gig, you know. And so meeting him was huge, and then we struck up a very, very close friendship and a bond that kind of still to this day is very, very super strong. And, you know, especially in those early years of our friendship, he was quite a huge mentor for me, like just as someone who'd been in the game and was a songwriter and someone who I looked up to. Yeah, it was amazing start of a good long friendship.
How long was the London stay for you?
I was away for about 3 years in total. But I mean, I didn't stay in London the whole time. I traveled. I was in Mexico for a while. I was.
Hold on. Here's something some of you might not know. Andy did a couple of guest slots in a Mexican rock band.
Well, it was a Mexican metal band.
Mexican metal band.
Yeah, I was traveling through Mexico. I ended up at a little town called Puerto Escondido. And I was surfing, and just kind of, so we'd surf during the day, and at night you go out to bars and restaurants, and I'd always walk past this one bar which had a live band, and always stop in and check out the guys. And the guys were great. They used to play like like Motley Crue and like Ozzy and, you know, Pink Floyd or whatever. And I started talking to the lead singer the one day. I said, I dabble in music, and he's like, hey man, you gotta come sing some songs with us. So I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, you come sing Roadhouse Blues. So I got up and did the Doors Roadhouse Blues the first night. I was like, yeah, this is kind of weird. And then the next night he's like, hey man, don't you know any other songs? I was like, well, we could do Mr. Crowley by Ozzy. I was like, Mr. Crowley. These like Spanish, like these like Mexican dudes rocking out. I couldn't talk to any of them. Didn't know any Spanish, but there it was. And so for like 2 months, most nights I'd be there. Ended up doing like a full set with these guys. It was great.
3 years in total. So from there you go back.
Yeah, so I was in London, then I traveled to Mexico, and I went back to London. Got a job at a place called Vintage Magazine Store, and I met a couple of people there. Also, really influenced my outlook on music and artistically how they approach things. Guys I worked with, and yeah, it still to this day kind of resonates hugely with me. Just these great people that I met there.
So when you come back eventually, you obviously still have this deep interest in music. What's the first thing you do when you get back musically?
The first thing I did musically, I ended up hanging around with my cousin Warren Gibson. His nickname's Dog. I ended up hanging around with Dog, who lived in Joburg. So I'd go up to Joburg a hell of a lot. And he was in a band called Seed, and they had a studio with another band called Plum. And those 7 guys were like a tight family, incredible musicians. And every day they'd just go out down to their studio and they'd hang out and rehearse. And so I used to go up to Joburg a hell of a lot and spend time with these guys. And they ended up doing a bunch of different gigs together as a collective called Morph Attack. And I used to and I used to join them for some of those Morph Attack gigs and come in as like the 8th member, and it was like the Wu-Tang Clan, man. There was like a ton of us. We'd arrive, and it was just incredible. Like two drummers, 2 bassists, 2 guitarists, everyone singing, and it was crazy. It was crazy, and through them I met a friend, Dylan Dalton. Dylan was just the craziest cat I'd met in a long time, and we hit it off like a house on fire. And we proceeded to put a band together called Low. And Low was just a bunch of really cool guys, and we practiced at Planet Art Studios, and we were on the verge of kind of starting to do gigs and stuff like that, but it just never happened and kind of fell apart, and as young bands do. But then from the ashes of that, I'd been writing songs up until that point that didn't really fit what we were doing with Low, and I bumped into Nick Lord, who I'd played with all those years back, and we started Roswell Kings with Andre Lotto, who was in Sons of Trout, and Nick and myself.
Yeah, I was initially gonna talk about Roswell Kings in the 3rd section, but since we're here now, we might as well talk about that. Roswell Kings, if my memory serves, around 2002, 2001, 2002, 2003, they really captured the imagination of sort of the Cape Town rock crowd.
Yeah, we started in '99, and yeah, we actually we came out. We played our first show at Mercury, and then our second show we ended up opening for the Mission. The Mission.
Wayne Hussey.
Exactly. Yes. It was the weirdest combination because we were so not any goth band at all, and it was just like we just got a phone call saying, "Hey, the Mission are playing. Do you want to open?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." Will they be Chiran Tequila? So we would have. Yeah, so that was kind of cool, and so we were together for a good long while.
But you guys went through a hell of a lot of changes, didn't you? I remember every time I saw the band, there was somebody new in it. Somebody new in it or something. Yeah.
Well, we went through 9 lineup changes. I started to think it was something to do with me, but then I thought, no, that can't be the case. That can't be the case. Most of the band are here in the audience, so I'm just going to stop talking. No. Yeah, so there was, just, I don't know, through circumstances and acts of God, it was, we just went through loads and loads of lineup changes. And it really, I think that was the thing that eventually put Roswell Kings to bed was the fact that it just every time we went through a lineup change, it just was so emotionally taxing on me. I found it difficult to kind of keep the love and the spark, because I from the beginning I wanted a band. I wanted a group of guys that like a gang, and you go out, and so it was a huge thing for me. Every time someone left or something happened, and yeah, so by the 9th time it happened, I just said to the guys, and at the end, when eventually Roswell Kings I put a full stop at the end of that sentence. The lineup that we had then was incredible. I mean, if we'd started from scratch and it was myself and Art and Jason Ling, I mean, as a 3-piece, that would have been, it was a kicking band. And the songs that we were writing at that time were incredible. I mean, we've got almost an album's worth of songs that we've never done anything with. Because just for the pure fact that I'd fallen out of love with the idea of what the Roswell Kings was, I needed something different. I needed something to change. I'd been doing it for a long time, and we'd hit like a bit of a plateau. We couldn't seem to. We'd released 2 EPs and a full-length album, and we kind of didn't seem to. I think every time that someone left, it felt like we were taking 5 steps backwards, and then we'd take 2 steps forwards, and then there would be another hiccup, and so it felt like we could never really catch our full stride and take it to the potential that I really think that we could have. Like, it was a great band, and it was, I still think the songs are really great.
It's strange that you say that part of what you always wanted was just that gang of guys playing in that band, because where you went from there eventually was someplace quite different. But we're going to talk about that when we come back. Thanks very much.
Right on.
Another break, 5 minutes.
That are here tonight.
Point counterpoint, I will be waiting patiently for your love. I'll meditate on karma, greatly grasp at how it all came to this, Point counterpoint, I should have warned you earlier. Now you fled, and you will see the way that I will send my waves head high to drown your fears, your fears. And it won't be alright. No, it won't be alright. An atmosphere it shifts and turns, an indecisive chromosomes, and chosen blindness, fear of hurt, and it won't be alright. And point counterpoint, it won't be alright. And point counterpoint. Point counterpoint, I should have seen this earlier. Pure regret. And I really love the way you used to slowly close the blinds before we slept. And it won't be alright. An atmosphere it shifts and turns, and indecisive chromosomes, and chosen blindness, fear of hurt, and it won't be alright at point counterpoint. 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 No. La, 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 la,
Thank you.